Drop it, Cobb. It's all over. I said it's all over. Drop it and you'll live. I'll ride out. What are you proving? $2 a month, the homemade badge. You've got no business laying your life on the line.
Firecreek, 1968. A Western about a quiet town marshal forced to confront a gang of outlaws. Released in 1968, stands as a compelling example of the revisionist Western that began to emerge in the late 1960s, a genre that challenged the romanticized myths of the Old West and explored more nuanced, often darker, aspects of human nature. While perhaps not as widely celebrated as some of its contemporaries, like The Wild Bunch or Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, Firecreek offers a thoughtful and understated examination of moral courage in the face of overwhelming fear, the corrosion of innocence, and the breakdown of societal order. Starring James Stewart in a role that subverts his typically heroic persona, the film presents a complex narrative where the traditional Western tropes of good versus evil are blurred, leaving the audience to grapple with the ambiguous realities of frontier life. Directed by Vincent McCavity, Firecreek is set in a small, peaceful farming community clinging to existence on the edges of the vast, unforgiving West. This is not a town of gunfighters and saloons, but rather a place where families struggle to cultivate the land and build a life of quiet dignity. The film meticulously establishes this sense of normalcy, highlighting the importance of community and the fragility of their hard-won peace. Into this idyllic setting rides a gang of 7 ruthless cowboys, led by the volatile and unpredictable Bob Larkin, played with chilling intensity by Henry Fonda. Larkin and his men are not seeking a showdown or a territorial battle. They're simply waiting for a wounded member of their gang to recover. And in the meantime, they disrupt the delicate balance of the town with their reckless behavior and simmering menace. James Stewart portrays Johnny Cobb, the part-time sheriff of Firecreek. Cobb's a farmer, a family man expecting the imminent birth of his first child. He is not a seasoned lawman, nor is he particularly skilled with a gun. In fact, he embodies the ordinary citizen thrust into an extraordinary situation. His sheriff's badge is more a symbol of civic responsibility than a declaration of prowess. Stewart's performance is a masterclass in quiet desperation and internal conflict as Cobb grapples with his fear and his duty to protect his town. He is acutely aware of his limitations and the overwhelming odds he faces against Larkin's gang. The tension in Firecreek builds slowly but inexorably. The film avoids explosive action sequences in favor of a more psychological approach, focusing on the interplay of fear and intimidation. Larkin and his men, while undeniably dangerous, are not portrayed as cartoonish villains. They are presented as flawed individuals, driven by their own motivations and anxieties. This is particularly evident in Fonda's portrayal of Larkin, who, despite his ruthlessness, is shown to be a man weary of the outlaw life and searching for a way out. He is not driven by malice, but rather by a pragmatism born of survival in a brutal environment. The townspeople of Firecreek are also portrayed with a refreshing lack of sentimentality. They are not uniformly courageous or virtuous. Most are ordinary people, fearful for their lives and willing to compromise their principles in order to survive. The film subtly examines the dynamics of group behavior under duress, showing how fear can lead to both solidarity and betrayal. Some residents actively cooperate with Larkin's gang in the hope of avoiding conflict, while others attempt to maintain a facade of normalcy, clinging to the hope that the storm will simply pass them by. A key element of the film lies in its exploration of the impact of violence on the innocent. A young boy named Arthur becomes fascinated by the arrival of the outlaws, drawn to their perceived power and freedom. He idolizes Larkin and his men, mimicking their mannerisms and reveling in their lawlessness. This naive fascination with violence represents the corruption of innocence that occurs when the boundaries between right and wrong become blurred. Arthur's admiration for the outlaws highlights the seductive allure of violence, particularly for those who have never experienced its true consequences. The film's climax is not a grand shootout, but rather a more intimate and unsettling confrontation. Cobb, who is driven by a combination of desperation and a growing sense of responsibility, finally confronts Larkin. The ensuing struggle is clumsy and brutal, reflecting the lack of professional experience on Cobb's part. He is not a natural gunfighter, and his victory is not a foregone conclusion. The scene underscores the fact that even ordinary people, when pushed to their breaking point, are capable of extraordinary acts of courage. However, the victory in Firecreek is far from triumphant. The film ends on a note of ambiguity and uncertainty. While Larkin and his gang are defeated, the town of Firecreek is forever changed. The idyllic peace that once characterized the community is shattered, and the residents are left to grapple with the trauma of their experience. The film suggests that the true cost of violence is not simply measured in terms of physical harm, but also in the psychological scars it leaves behind. Firecreek also deftly explores themes of societal breakdown and the fragility of law and order in the frontier. The absence of effective law enforcement beyond the part-time Cobb creates a vacuum that allows Larkin and his gang to operate with impunity. The film implicitly critiques the myth of the self-reliant Western hero, suggesting that a community without a functioning legal system is vulnerable to exploitation and violence. The residents of Firecreek are ultimately left to fend for themselves, relying on their own resources and moral compass to navigate a dangerous and unpredictable situation. Furthermore, the film's cinematography contributes significantly to its overall mood and atmosphere. The stark, bleak landscapes of the American West serve as a visual metaphor for the moral emptiness that pervades the film. The use of shadows and close-ups emphasizes the claustrophobic nature of the situation and heightens the sense of tension. The visual style of Firecreek is deliberately understated, reflecting the film's focus on character development and psychological realism rather than spectacular action. In conclusion, Firecreek is a compelling and thought-provoking Western that transcends the traditional genre conventions. It's a film that eschews simplistic moralizing in favor of a more nuanced and realistic portrayal of human nature. James Stewart delivers a remarkable performance as Johnny Cobb, a reluctant hero who embodies the ordinary person's struggle to overcome fear and uphold their moral responsibilities. Henry Fonda is equally impressive as Bob Larkin, a complex and conflicted outlaw who challenges the audience's preconceived notions of good and evil. While Firecreek may not be as widely known as some of its more celebrated contemporaries, it remains a valuable addition to the Western film canon, offering a powerful and enduring commentary on the themes of fear, violence, and the loss of innocence in the American West. Its slow-burning narrative, psychological depth, and morally ambiguous characters make it a film that continues to resonate with audiences today. It serves as a reminder that even in the most challenging circumstances, ordinary people are capable of extraordinary acts of courage, and that the true cost of violence is often far greater than we imagine.